I think you had some interesting insights in terms of like countries that are reporting more stress than others. Is that true?
Yes, I do. Do you want to hear them? Well, this is what Google's telling me, okay? What do you think is the most stressed country today?
I would
like right now.
say the U.S.
No, I had no idea.
Okay.
I had no idea. Yeah, no idea.
What continent is it in? I would feel that places that have very homogenized cultures would have less stress because the expectation is we all work the same way in the same capacity. But then if you say it's not US, is it somewhere like Japan or somewhere where it's like they work crazy hours?
No.
Oh my God.
I was shocked. Okay, so for some reason there's two, which is like really confusing. So I have two on this list. So I have number one is Afghanistan. Negative emotions have reached record levels. So Gallup found in its 2022 Global Emotions Report, Afghanistan leads the world in least positive and most negative experiences. So I guess people are just very stressed.
Well, they've been enduring basically decades of like war and conflict. So that would make sense.
And then I'll just say the least stressful country is Finland.
There's going to be some kind of, you were going to tell me like Iceland, Finland, Netherlands, Denmark, like that's kind of what I figured would end up being.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like that one kind of makes sense. I feel like Finland is on like all like the like happiest country and like the well-balanced country or like whatever. Like they're on like those types of lists. So like that makes sense that they're the least stressful country. Maybe we should move there, Krista.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know a lot about Finland. I imagine that their government structure is probably very socialist dominant. So it's like everybody doesn't have to worry about some of the same things that we have to worry about where, there's certain tiers of education that are free, healthcare that are free, like takes away a lot of those stresses that we have from like a financial perspective. I'm making an assumption. I don't actually know.
Yeah. And then what do you think is most stressed out age?
I feel like somewhere in your mid to late 30s.
So no.
Wait, we just talked about finding happiness and the parabola of happiness being 23 and 69. Oh my God.
Well, okay, so I have two. So I have one for stress and I have one for anxiety because it's different.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah.
So according to Cigna International Health's 2023 survey of almost 12,000 workers around the world, 91% of 18 to 24-year-olds report being stressed. Are you kidding me? Research indicates Gen Z are emerging as the most stressed demographic in the workplace and struggling to cope. Isn't that interesting? I was like, okay. And then for anxiety, they're saying that adults ages 30 to 44 have the highest rate of anxiety.
That nail on the head for me. Yes.
1,000%, right? And then with around 23% of people this age group reporting an anxiety disorder within the past year, which I'm surprised that number is not a little higher.
Literally, because I can't tell you, like, if I think of all the friends that I kind of communicate with in a semi-regular basis, they're all on some type of medication for anxiety.
Right. Right. And just talk about anxiety. I know there's lots of different genders out there, but what gender do you think is most affected by anxiety?
Given the amount of hormones in a biological female's body that creates a lot of turmoil in the physicality of a woman's body and in their mental, I would assume that it was female, biological female.
Correct. That's correct.
And I'm not saying that I don't know what it's like to be a male and that has its own stressors too. So I don't downplay that, but yeah, I could see how that makes sense. Can I go back to Gen Z for a moment and like feeling the most stressed, or the ages being like 18 to 24? Because I have opinions about it, and just like interacting with my nieces and nephews who are probably a part of that demographic. It's very interesting to me that what they think is stress, I think also what needs to be clarified is like, what is stress? What does stress look like for somebody that's in their 30s versus like somebody who's like going into like late teens, early 20s. It looks very different. Yeah. And everything at that age feels like it's the end of the world. But I also understand.
Absolutely.
Going into college and university, you feel like you need to make a decision that's going to impact the rest of your life.
Well, they put pressure on you that makes you feel like that.
Sure. Because that's the expectation. Like, if you're going to go to college or university, what are you going there for? Like, otherwise you're just wasting money. You're not going there to like figure it out. It costs too damn much.
Exactly. But I remember when I was in high school and university and college, and I was very stressed and thinking like, I can't, there's nothing will top this. Adult Sarah laughs at younger Sarah.
Well, it's the beginning of dipping your foot into adulthood where your actions have consequences. So you don't want to do well in school. It's not like high school or elementary school. This costs money.
Yeah.
And that is a big, scary thing for those that are younger. What I do find, and it's only anecdotal, is that they aren't willing to do the same level of work to like maybe compromise their work-life balance. Like I grew up in the generation where you needed to put in the hours, put in the time, blood, sweat, and tears to prove yourself. But also nothing was handed to me. So I had to become independent, and then that built resiliency. Now, when I see with these younger generations, only the ones that I interact with, obviously, is these same people that I grew up with are helicopter parents. So there's this sheltering of these kids now. So they can't, as my mom would say, 7 or 11. They can't do things on their own, or the idea of doing it freaks them out so much that they're like, I need a mental health day. And it's like, you haven't even left the house and moved out on your own or buy your own groceries. You don't even pay your own cell phone bill.
No, that's so true though, because my mom told me that when I was in like kindergarten or grade 1, I walked to school by myself. And it was a good like 10-15 minute walk. And I like didn't believe her. I was like, no, I didn't. And she's like, yeah, you walked to school by yourself. You were fine. And then I tell other people, maybe a little older than me, that have kids that are in elementary school, that story. And they're like, oh my God, I would never let my kid walk to school like that.
So true.
And valid, times have changed. But I think people are more, they got their nails in their kids a little bit more.
And I'm guilty of it too. Like my sister lets her youngest walk to and from school every day, and he's not a baby. But I'm always like, oh, he can walk for those 7 minutes by himself?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in first grade and second grade, I had a key to the house. If my parents forgot to pick me up, which happened, I would walk home and let myself in the door. But it's a different time. So I'm guilty. I'm guilty of that same mentality of like, these new generations need to be protected.
And like you were talking about, we have different stressors in different ages. And I have something that says an older millennials, so like age 35 to 44, are the least likely to say they feel financially well, according to the Bank of America's 2023 report.
I just read an article today that said the same thing, that they financially do not feel well off.
Yeah, exactly. Which that makes sense. Right?
Yeah. I guess it's interesting to be in that age demographic. It's very interesting when I reflect back of like what I thought a good salary was coming out of school versus what people are starting off as their starting salary now as recent graduates. I'm like, that's a big difference. Like millennials or Gen Zers don't think making $100,000 a year is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? Like the perspective is so different. So if that's the barometer, yes, people 35 to 44, I'd be like, I should be making $250,000 a year. Why am I not doing that? I'm failing.
Truly. Seriously. And it just everything, all the prices are going up too. So it's just like, this is not adding up. Like, what is going on? I do have a specific stat in the US. The American Psychology Association, the APA, people age 18 to 33 in that age group suffer the highest level of stress in the US. They don't say what stress, they just say stress.
My hypothesis is that colleges and universities are significantly more expensive than in Canada. So like a year's worth of tuition is in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Or more than that now. I think the average is probably like 30,000, depending if you're going to in-state or out-of-state school, where I think average tuition in Canada per year is maybe like between 10 to 15, depending on where you're going. So, which is still a lot of money, but like it's people, I want to say kids are not kids, but young adults are coming out of college in severe financial debt in the US.
Yes, absolutely.
They're starting out in a hole. And then at the age of 24 or whatever, you're no longer on your parents' insurance anymore.
Right.
So you need to find your own insurance and pay for that. And then you have those healthcare costs that you never thought of. So you're trying to figure all those things out during those years. So yeah, I could see how.
And then plus, if you want to have a family in the US and you want to deliver a baby in the hospital,
Yeah.
And if you have like good insurance, you still have to pay out of pocket for something. So I feel like that just goes hands in hand. Like, yeah, you graduate school, perfect. And then you work a bit and maybe you find your partner, you want to have a family. And then it's just boom, it's just like more money that you have to like, I don't know, throw away.
Well, my first job out of school was doing healthcare benefits administration for U.S. companies. So that's how I became aware of their healthcare system, which is very, very different than the Canadian one. And one thing that I found is we do it here in Canada, but it looks and feels very different. They do an annual enrollment into their new benefits, right? And their new benefit plans. And there's different tiers of coverage where you can have, the cheapest amount of coverage, but you can only go to specific providers or hospitals. And then if you go out of that network, then you have to pay 100% of the cost. And then there's another tier that's like 50-50, and then there's another tier, right? So what they don't do in the US, where they are also probably focusing on parallelograms, is they don't educate people on their healthcare plans and what they should look for coverage. So every year people are trying to figure out, what do I do and how do I enroll and what's the best plan? And they have no idea. And these are things that could impact their lives financially. Like you could lose your house if you don't pay this medical bill. The medical company can put a lien against you. Like, it isn't a joke. I just saw a TikTok a few days ago where this girl's like, follow me as I give birth in a California hospital and see how much it costs me. It costs like $35,000 for her. She shows the hospital bill and she still had to pay $2,200 of that.
Yeah. And that's probably like decent insurance too, right?
Exactly. That she got the good insurance.
Yeah. And maybe she pays like private on the side. Like, who knows? Like,
oh yeah, she was in a big hospital room. It was a private room.
Yeah. But still, $2,200 is still $2,200 that could go towards something else.
Well, Sarah, you've had 2 babies. How much do you pay for those 2 babies? What did your bill look like?
Maybe like, actually, no, 0.
I'm like, because what?
I think we just paid for parking, like at the hospital, out of pocket. I think that was it. Like the room's covered under our insurance. So yeah, I think we just paid for parking at the hospital and that was it. That's all I paid for. That's all the bill that I got.
Exactly. I mean, the only thing that you maybe would have had to pay for is if you unexpectedly went into labor and had to be like rushed to the hospital in an ambulance, and then you'd get your bill for $50 later that you had to pay for the ambulance. Like that. That's at most.
But I still think that might be covered in some insurances.
Yeah, you probably claim it. Yeah, absolutely. But you're not going to the paramedics aren't going to swipe your card in the thing. You have to get billed and then you have to submit it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it says 55% of Americans are stressed during the day.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But at the same time, they're resilient.
Yeah.
Because they
100%
live their lives and do what they got to do.
Well, they got to pay those bills and all those medical bills and all those tuition payments, right? So
that's the thing.
Jeez.